Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. We are here to discuss a very important topic, and it's said the rapid rise of podcasts. So we definitely acknowledge the rise. This is Audio Next, a week dedicated to discussing the business of audio, that is non-music audio. And today I have a great panel with me, Mr. Ramesh Menon, representing HT Smartcast, Fever and Radio One, Mr. Sandeep Singh from Khabri, and Kavita Rajwade, IBM Podcast. At the very beginning, I'll start with you, Mr. Menon. What explains this rise of podcasts? Is it actually a rise, or did it always exist in this mode of storytelling? Did it always exist within us?
Hi, thanks for having me here, and pleasure being on a panel like this. I think it's already always existed, but from a tech perspective and the way we see things now, I think it's happened quite surprisingly over the last 3-4 years. Right? I'm sure Kavita and Sandeep would add to that. But we just decided to join the bandwagon a year and a half ago, and we are pleasantly surprised by the response that we've got. Sort of gone from nothing to 6 million monthly active listens. So that's like unexpected and not something that we thought would happen. So we'd actually, in our own minds, we'd kept a much longer time frame for achieving those numbers, and we're surprised that so many of our listeners are, and they're much younger listeners, right? So there's a very, very clear difference between what the younger people are doing, and we probably caught the trend at the right time, and we didn't know that they would. I'm sure Kavita and Sandeep realized earlier. We just followed that and made sure that as a content house, we're creating so much of content. And we said, and most of our content was really use and throw content. I mean, we believed we didn't give enough respect to the kind of content we were creating. And sort of, we started with repurposing content and then went on to making our own content and making original shows and so on. And suddenly you find there is traction for it. Things that we thought would never work have worked. From religion to current affairs to sports to everything that we can create in-house, we've managed to. So I think it's a trend. It is happening. It's real. And I think the next thing is how to make money on it.
That's great. We'll get into the discussion. Sandeep, where are we at this stage when it comes to podcasts? How would you explain this industry, and where do you find Khabri in this entire universe of podcasts in India?
Taking a cue from what Ramesh said, we are a young country, average age being 28 years, right? And today's youth wants content on demand, right? So it's a battle between broadcast and narrowcast, right? So audio has been always broadcast. Now is the time for narrowcast. And these are exciting times, actually. 4 years, 5 years back, when we would talk about audio, there were very few takers because video was the toast of the town. Right. And but we as a country have been essentially been a country of storytellers and story listeners. Very late surge of satellite television also gave us a lot of scope for audio to grow in form of terrestrial radio at one point in time. So I think that is in our genetics somewhere. We love our audio. And as I said, today's youth, they want content on demand, and there's life beyond music. There's so much content which is created, which is beyond music. IBM, Kavita is here, and these guys have been doing a yeoman's job for a very long time. In fact, 2015 is when I Saban Management, our sponsors here. I was with Saban then to get into podcasts and move beyond music, and that's when IBM came handy, and they produced a lot of shows for us. We got Nilesh from radio to move to digital. There were challenges, yes, because radio, you have those numbers like 5 million concurrent listeners and all of that, and here you have real-time stats on the number of listeners and everything. It doesn't sound that exciting for the creators. But I think we have evolved. We have come along from there, and these are really exciting times. We as Khabri, we are not a content house. We are essentially a platform. We have close to 100,000 creators working for us, and the capability of audio being the most cost-effective and the most the least effort oriented production game. And that's where a lot of creators come in. And yeah, we are at a great place right now with around 1,000 users in education and self-help space with us.
Correct. Fantastic. Fantastic. Kavita, your initial remarks. How do you analyze the current podcast market in India, and where do you see IBM podcast currently?
So actually taking cue from all of them, right? I think audio has been around. We've been a country of great storytellers. I think it's come to the fore because of currently at a time like that we are in right now. It kind of completely depends on the relevance and the value of the content that you're looking at putting out, right? Time is not infinite, and I think people want to drive quality in the time that they spend. And just like Sandeep said, right, replacement to music listening mostly, right? Because at the end of it all, I think there's a huge a difference between how you engage with video and how you engage with audio. Audio, I mean, single sense experience, that you can pretty much listen to stuff on the go, right? And at a time like this, and especially I would say that there's, I think podcasts have seen a massive rise in the last year and a half of this lockdown. Yes, we've been at it since 2015, but there has been a special kind of recognition that we've kind of seen over the last 18 months. And I think that has been because people and behaviors have changed, and we don't know how long that is going to be, but I feel like there has been a certain shift in the kind of consumption of infotainment. We've always wanted to cater to not just information and not just entertainment, and to be able to combine the two, and helping people get smarter on the go is something that I think is extremely important as of now. About where we are as a country when numbers are concerned, we've just about scratched the surface. We have a long way to go. But at the same time, it's extremely encouraging to see so many people come to the party, right? And we've struggled in the first initial couple of years just to explain to people how important and relevant audio content could be to you and your time. And I feel like I mean, unfortunately, it's been a time of lockdown where people have gotten extremely careful about how they spend their time and what value they drive from it, right? So everything that we even have on the network caters to a couple of things. A, information through entertainment, right? So we want to always cater to the infotainment category, and that's why we think we drive value there.
Okay, staying with you, Kavita. I mean, you said there is a rapid rise. Where is this rise coming in from? Is it a metro rise that you see, or is it getting penetrating deep into the hinterland? Where is this rapid rise coming from?
So I would say that that what, the metropolitan cities are important to us. If we are a 115 show content network right now, 100 of our shows are in English. And initially we needed to cater to this audience because who knew the word podcast before, right? I mean, we even battled that whole thing of, should we even call this medium a podcast platform, because we needed to break the barriers on getting people to understand what a podcast was. But I know how the whole subculture to counterculture element works as well, right? And you needed to kind of wait that time to get popular within a certain ecosystem. To kind of speak about like where the rise is coming from, I think there is a huge build up in not just like the tier 2 tier 3, but just language opportunity here, right? I think, I mean, in all of this, like, yes, we've started our network with premium speakers like Cyrus and people like Anupam Gupta, but our most popular show right now is a Tamil podcast. It's called Ponniyin Selvan, and we've had a great run with that show. And what a great story, right? I mean, it's not that Ponniyin Selvan is some kind of exclusive, it's a massive story. It's a great, like, classic story from Tamil Nadu, but at the same time, there's so many versions of it. The version of what you put out and what your conversation really stands for is what strikes a chord with the audience. And that's what differentiates you from maybe the thousand other Ponniyin Selvans that exist, not just on audio platforms, but even on video platforms. So I think the relevance of that is something that we need to drive. I feel at IVM, we've always taken the audience not for granted, but we think we have a deeply intelligent audience, right? And we need to speak to them, not talk down to them, but like speak with them. And I guess just that approach has kind of helped us grow some categories on the network that I think don't exist on a lot of other platforms. Our
Correct.
second most popular category on the network is public policy. It's a category that you don't see on so many other premium networks, because I mean, either you think that there is no information to be passed, or there's nothing to learn. But I thought that to make policy palatable to everybody was important, and we managed to do that very earlier in our space. And so
Correct.
I think there is it's not just the rise of the metropolitan listeners or whatever, but there's a huge like regional audience and language audience that we're getting, and at the same time people who just want value driven content.
Correct. Mr. Menon, I'll come to you. I mean, when the lockdowns were announced, the perception was that the streaming apps and listening and radio that we thought was always driven by commuting. We only listen to radio when we are in a taxi. We only plugged in our earphones to listen to music when we are traveling in a train or something, or maybe a flight. But that did not actually happen. So, as you said, you actually saw a rise in the last 1.5 years. Most of that period, people were indoors. What explains this? I mean, is there a consumer behavior shift that we are witnessing here?
I think it's also about this entire thing that we mentioned earlier about, being able to do other things during the lockdown. One thing that really happened is all of us were doing many more things than, we otherwise would. We were earlier going to office and coming back and so on, but now we had to do our household chores, we need to do various other things, and it was always easier to do it with something on your ears rather than doing it immersed in some video. Right? And that's a change that's happened. So radio listening surprisingly did not come down during the lockdown. That's what data suggests. I don't know how reliable the data is, but whether it's radio or just plain simple audio that we're talking about in podcasts, it went through the roof in terms of listenership. And it's also because people could do other things while they were listening to audio. And I think like Kavita said, it's not the dumber stuff that worked. It's actually sort of elevated viewers. Everybody wanted to do self-improvement and so on. So there was a move upwards in a sense. So you had the dumbing down that was being done by Bollywood and TikTok sort of really disappeared, and then you had better quality content from OTT, from people like us, from the podcasting platforms, taking over that space which was occupied by these two predominant platforms at a point in time, which actually was dumbing down audiences. So here was our opportunity, and I think we all took that opportunity, or we were in the right place at the right time in terms of having the content available at that point in time. So whether it was religious programming, I mean, it went to the roof. I mean, I haven't seen religion being as important as during those times, right? Especially COVID-1, all our religious podcasts and all the religious content that we had, which we converted into podcasts, just shot through the roof, whether it was, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Sadhguru, or whatever it is. And also news-based content. So we saw that happening. So both radio and audio, I think both of them, did reasonably well. Of course, we didn't have the advertisers, but we had the listeners during that time. But surprisingly, to the earlier point that you made, it was for us, it was tier 1, tier 2 that really picked up more than, because a large part of our content is Hindi. So that's really where tier 1, Pune, Ahmedabad, Indore, Meerut, Lucknow, Kanpur, these are the markets where we saw great traction, much more than Bombay, Delhi, and Calcutta.
Okay, that's fantastic. So Sandeep, is the rise of podcast actually, similar to the rise of streaming apps? You were in Savan at the very beginning of Savan. Do you see similar trends emerging here as well?
We moved to podcast out of a business call, essentially, not because of consumer demand. To be very frank, the idea was that the more we were growing in terms of music streaming, the more we were bleeding by giving the royalty to the labels, right? So then we had to get into the podcast mode. But surprisingly, we got great response, right? So as I said earlier as well, that this country of great storytellers and great story listeners, right? Right from Dadi Nani, Kahani, and what have you.
Yeah.
So I mean that set the trend up, and actually then I mean lot of other platforms followed suit, and today we are where we are. So but we moved into it out of compulsion, not that there was a great demand, but then it suddenly came upon us that yes, there is a lot of scope for non-music content.
Fantastic.
And just one more point, just to add to what Kavita and Ramesh just said about the consumers coming from the hinterland. It's massive, right? When we talk about us at Khabri, our consumers are barely in metros. They are all in Bareilly and Meerut of the world and Jamshedpur, right? So, and that's very encouraging.
And why is it so that most of your
Vernacular.
Okay, the language.
Right. So the comfort of listening in my language, in my way that I speak, right? That helps. They say that audio is the theater of mind, right? So it's a very immersive medium. So when somebody is speaking, you can actually relate with him if he speaks in your style, your language. Video takes a lot of cognitive effort, both in terms of creation and in terms of consumption as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So audio you can relate more because close your eyes and you can dream of being Salman Khan yourself.
Okay, fantastic. To all the participants, I would request please type in your questions. We would have otherwise done it at a hall where the microphones would have been given to you, but here we can't do that. So you just type your questions and we'd like to take it. Kavita, coming to you, I mean, where do you see the tipping point coming from? We all talk about tipping point. Television, they say, Kaun Banega Crorepati or Kyunki Saas Bhi Bahu Thi was the tipping point. OTT, they are still in search of the tipping point. Somebody said it would be scam, but I doubt it actually going to be. Where do you see the tipping point for podcast coming in from? Would it be that one show or two shows?
So interesting question. I feel like, the general podcast universe is maybe a 15 or 16-year universe, right? I'm talking America included. India has been what it has been, over the last 6 years. There's obviously like, a certain amount of like, oh, this is audio. And so maybe, there isn't enough, high quality experience in terms of like the number of people that kind of, created audio shows, right? At the same time, yes, dude, I mean, the AIRs and, radio stations have been doing it, but I feel like there has to be some stuff that needs to be created like for audio first, rather than it being like, an audio idea following a video idea, right? Internationally right now, if you notice, but shows like Netflix shows like Homecoming and stuff like that were podcast first, right? If there's a very new show called The Podcast Tapes, which is basically a 4-part special again on Netflix that is took from like the success of a podcast. So I think that it's already kind of happening in the US and the UK, and in these markets. And I feel like that very soon you will probably see extremely important people and rather popular people kind of getting into this kind of space to understand what the relevance is, because till in such time that you don't have an immediate star like an audio star, we've had people like Nilesh Mishra and other like the Amin Sayanis and and all of those voices, right? But of course at that point in time, people like Amin Sayani hosting a show like Geetmala was predominantly telling you the trivia around the songs that he was playing, right? And the value came from there.
Would you call it a podcast? Would you call that a podcast?
So the thing is that I would see that podcasts are more conversational, rather than this is a formatted show. It's a single voice show where someone is explaining a certain story element around something that they're going to play for you. So I would not consider that as a podcast per se, but definitely a high quality audio show. But at the same time, I feel the tipping point is going to come when we actually see serious money in the creation
Correct.
of high quality audio, right? Right now,
Correct.
there is still a middling. Everyone's, it's like what digital was for
Yeah.
television, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, oh, this is going to come on YouTube. Do you need the same money
Mhm.
as you would need to put out a TV show? Till in such time that now, things get made for YouTube or things get made for these platforms first, right?
Yeah.
And that that creativity is creativity, whether you're putting it on whichever platform.
Mhm.
A high supply of money will make for more ideas with finesse.
That
So I guess we'll have to wait till that time, till even brands get interested to see what comes from there.
correct. I mean, the digital journey, digital video journey that you talked about. Now we discussed, do you really need to spend so much to create a show? I mean, that is how it changed.
I mean, hell, we've created, high quality conversation shows without like the support of maybe video, right?
Correct.
And so, yeah, I mean, there is an opportunity. At the end of it all, no frills actually makes the job way more focused and easier.
Correct. I see a lot of questions about monetization. Stay tuned. We'll get into that chapter of monetization. But first, let's talk about content a little bit. Mr. Menon, you sit with a newspaper, radio, so content, does it come easy to you compared to others? Is that an advantage that HT Smartcast has? Or do you have to actually plan it from the scratch?
No, I think it's an advantage. There are creative content creators. I mean, if I just say, this building that I sit in has, 100, 200 potential content creators. And our objective in the first go was really to see how we can make use of that creativity of the people in-house to make content that works for the audience. And that's really how, if you look at the podcast that we went out on Mint, which was a branded Mint podcast, really the Millennial Mind or the, whatever on Mint, or even the news podcasts that we do, evening news wraps and so on. They are the ones which got great traction. Plus, there is the entire, the Fever Radio One set of content creators that we had. Yes. So whether we had done the Ramayana, Mahabharat, Ganesh, stuff like that on radio, and it had very limited audience because, you were driving from Borivali to Churchgate and you listened to it and that was that, right? After that, you forgot about it. But here it is a chance to take that same, that creativity and take it to the world. In one go, you were able to create all kinds of content for all kinds of audiences across the world. We had a Bengali content which actually has more listenership in Bangladesh than in India. So it's like that. So you suddenly were going beyond your terrestrial reach or your newspaper reach, and you could actually make voices literally of your own content creators, which you couldn't do earlier. And that was our objective, and that's what's worked for us, and which is what gives us a head start on many other people. Will have to, sort of get the content creators together first. I don't need to do that because they're all in-house. I just need to repurpose their own skill sets for another.
Challenge for you now, content creators from different parts who are probably new to this form of storytelling or probably doing this form of storytelling for a long period of time. Does that involve a lot of scouting for you?
Not necessarily, that's a surprise. While Ramesh and Kavita come from content factories, we are not a content repository, right? But it's been amazing, the kind of talent that you unearth from those hinterlands is just surprising. There's so much content there. There's so much content there which will never get surfaced on radio by any stretch of imagination. They won't come on YouTube because YouTube again requires that cognitive effort of production and them appearing on the video and stuff like that. But they can do wonders with their voice, right? And they are great motivational speakers. As I said, we have close to 100,000 creators on our platform right now. Well, I would say that 20% of the creators will take 80% of the audiences, but that it's amazing to see the kind of the content that you can generate out of those smaller areas. A good insight for possibly people like Kavita and Ramesh that look beyond the metros. There's a lot of talent out there. Go vernacular, go vernacular, go as much regional as you can. It works wonders.
Correct. Fantastic. Kavita, are there genres like, say, horror or thrillers which are working better? Maybe any particular trends you observe? Because when we saw video imaging, because you gave that reference of digital video, we initially saw that genres that television could not provide were actually becoming big on videos, like adult comedy, for that example, or horror or thriller. But are there similar trends when it comes to podcasts?
So true crime, I think, is something that I feel like is popular across like many mediums, right? I think
Correct.
just the ability to kind of I mean, it's voyeurism, it's a lot of that, and I feel like that category has catered well for that. So I think that it. I'm not saying that it's a clear leader, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I also feel like that outside of like maybe true crime and all of that, I think history is a huge leader for us as well, right? We've
Mhm.
got a lot of shows in this category, building a lot of shows in this category as of now.
Correct.
It's also because I think people just want to get smarter about so many things. They want to learn the stories around so many of the happenings around the world, not just in our country. In fact,
Mhm.
at the same time now, it's almost impossible to kind of even talk. I feel like you need to cater to an audience that doesn't get the kind of content that they've probably been looking for. Also, at the same time, for us, I feel we've created some shows right now that a lot of people didn't I mean, we keep getting asked that question that, how do you really create a show for an audience, for the audience, right? And I'm just like, no, we need to cater to them from a perspective of like, even if they don't know that they need it,
Mhm.
these are story forms that will actually help them understand some stuff better. So I think true crime and history, I would say, I mean, I think like comedy works across many platforms, right? And so yes,
Correct.
we have a lot of like funny shows as well, but I
Mhm.
think shows that actually drive a lot of like personal development is a huge category as well, right? Because personality development on the go is a sure shot
Mhm.
aspect that people really enjoy on podcasts at least.
Correct. Vaibhav Diwan asked this question, staying with you, Kavita. Are we becoming too interview based with our content creating? As it becoming a chat shows of one on one when it comes to podcasts and
Um,
less original storytelling?
so actually right now IVM is more conversational.
Mhm.
There's less storytelling. We also kind of wanted to cater to a certain audience that was missing certain conversations. I think there is an opportunity to have great conversations across so many subjects, and then we really thought that that was a missing category. So
Mhm.
before we started the single format storytelling,
Mhm.
category per se, we led with conversations. So not really interviews, because see, our hosts are subject matter experts themselves. Because
Correct.
if I really just needed somebody to ask a set of questions, anybody can do that, right?
Yeah.
But to have a high quality, relevant conversation around a topic, you need subject matter experts on both sides. And hence, a
Absolutely.
healthy conversation is what actually an audience member wants from this, right?
Mhm.
At the end of it all, I think with IVM, when we produce a show, we want to be able to solve an end problem for a listener in
Correct.
some form or way, whether it's personal finance, whether it's conversations around tech, whether it's
Mhm.
personality development. There has to be some kind of takeaway, and that's why the infotainment angle, I mean, previously a largely more entertainment focused
Mhm.
content pool that we had, has now a beautiful blend of information, right? So
Yeah.
and that is a combination that we kind of want to strive. So I think more conversations than interviews, and hence
Mhm.
we'll probably get into the whole storytelling narrative as soon as we kind of get what Sandeep said, right? There's just so much to do in the language states, right? And that's where we actually also want to be, and we'll get there slowly.
Correct. Ramesh, there's a question for you. Do you think radio and podcast can grow together? Should one eat into another pie?
No, I think absolutely, and they will live off each other, and that's really what my role is in getting the two organizations together. And since we have a podcasting business and a radio business under the same sort of leadership, I think that's the way it should go. So you create programming for podcasts, take it onto radio, work. It's try it on radio. It can work on podcasts, and a lot of our shows which were earlier flops on radio are
Mhm.
suddenly successful. I mean, we were just talking about horror.
Yeah.
We had a show called Kya Wo Sach Tha, which was season one. Beyond season one, we didn't go on radio. We
Correct.
suddenly look around the podcast and we have 5 million people have listened to it on podcast. And now we started a season 2 because the season 2 worked on podcasts. And actually it works off each other. So you know, the radio business sort of make sure that you can create quality content. So, you know, we had great programming stuff, Mahabharat, Ramayana, and all, which was created as radio shows, sponsored radio shows, which we then were able to take it to audio, which in podcast, which made it easier to do those shows. We would never have done a show with Shilpa Shetty and, you know, all of these stars on a show, which podcasts by themselves could never have created that. Like you said, the monetization issue and so on. So we were able to create it for radio and then take it onto audio. So it will work both ways. And more you'll say audio going onto radio, and which is why, you know, a lot of our programming today you can hear through the day actually talking about podcasts and so on. So everybody, all our RJs will be talking about podcasts or their podcasts going live on air and so on. So that it actually builds the industry as well. You're sort of creating the space, and radio has the opportunity, or broadcast mediums have the opportunity to create it. So even if you go on our newspapers, you read the article and there is a QR code which takes you to the article. So to the podcast. So it actually works well for all mediums, and you're able to sort of elevate your users' experience or listeners' experience or readers' experience by making sure that they're interconnected. That's really and we can do it because we have multiple media under the same house, right? So I think that should help the category as well.
Correct. And you know, Ek Kissa Roz Ka by RJ Nishant, I've never listened to it on radio, but I actually did it on HT Smartcast and many times.
Which is why I said earlier, you know, somebody going from Borivali to Dadar would listen to it, but now the whole world can listen.
Correct. And now staying with you, I mean, you with radio and print, of course, Hindustan Times have seen advertising for the longest period of time, but now we see the print as an industry is gradually moving to a subscription more and more. You know, when I would interview publishers, they would say that it's far easier for Money Control or Bloomberg Queen, or you know, to get a subscriber because they are actually helping you make a purchase decision. Will it follow a similar trend on podcast as well? Will your stock market update, you know, actually drag a subscriber? Maybe they would then sample other shows. What are the monetization models that you are looking at?
I'm sure there was always a fear, even you know, when it came to digital subscription, right? There was always a fear that, you know, nobody would subscribe. But a lot of our own experiences really suggest that, you know, people are willing to subscribe, and progressively subscription businesses is going through the roof, right? It's just a matter of taking that first step, right? Fighting that bullet. And I think at some point in time, when we are confident that we have quality content and quality listeners, and listeners are coming back again and again. I think, for example, a podcast like Kya Wo Sach Tha or Ek Kissa Roz Ka, you know, these things can easily get into subscription mode without a problem. And the more podcasts you have of that kind, which have strong, loyal, you know, cohort of users or listeners, I think we can get to subscription, and it's not very far off. You know, that'll happen. I'm sure.
Not very far off. That's where we end. Like this round. But Sandeep, what are the monetization channels you are looking at for Kabhi? And I mean, you offer stuff like job news. I mean, employment updates. People would buy newspaper just to see the vacancies that are there, and you are actually providing it in a mode of podcast. So where do you see money coming in from?
Okay, for starters, I mean, I've been selling advertising for a living for 20 years.
Correct.
And essentially, when we authored the first model of audio monetization with Saban, right? And that's when the first monetization of audio started happening. But one thing which I realized over a period was that, you know, advertising more and more as we go along, it's more about Facebook and Google. Right, so getting the advertising pie out of these two giants is a tough ask. If you create quality content, and as Ramesh also said, that there are people willing to subscribe, and that's really encouraging to hear. Let people pay for the content, right? And if you are creating worthy content which can make a difference to a person's life, he will pay for it. Don't go ballistic. I mean, we struggled at Saban to get people to subscribe for music they want, right? At any given point in time, they're not 1 or 2% of users who are subscribing, And out of that also 50% would be on free trial period.
Correct.
Right. So they won't pay for music because it's available everywhere. But if you can create some good quality content which actually impacts their lives, they will. So coming to what we are doing, we are creating content which helps people get a better livelihood, self-help, improvise, upskill, get a job, that kind of thing. And we have taste in that.
Okay.
People for that.
I
So
guess.
our action is going to come from the user. Coming to the content side of it also, when you talked about genres with Kavita, I can tell you that there are genres like mental maths which are working on Khabri, right? People are subscribing for audio courses on mental maths, on geography, right? I mean, we ourselves couldn't believe it. And there are people who are actually subscribing for those kind of courses. So if rendered well, if the storytelling, if the narrative is great, they will subscribe. They will pay for it.
Correct. Correct. Kavita, they all want to know the questions that we have, like 16, 17 questions are, how do they make money? Give them some hint. I mean,
So it's been we've had to wait a long time in the wings, but we finally, the last year has been great. We've always wanted to build an ad model, right, and to pass on the benefit to the end listener. At the same time, what Sandeep is saying as well, right? I mean, quality content. People will dish out the money to kind of, but the struggle has always been about the nature of our audience, and whether they really actually paid for services like music. But I feel like there's a huge difference between, and just like what he said, right, difference in music, which is kind of freely available on many platforms, and why then what is the exclusive element. So I mean, of course, I'll wait for the time till subscribers decide to dish that money out, but till in such time, we worked with quite a few brands in the last year, and I think what they're trying to do as well is to kind of be a certain kind of product in a certain kind of environment. They know what the audience is like. We're not a return ROI kind of a medium yet, right? And but at the same time, saliency is important, brand awareness is important. The audience that we have right now, I mean, I would say that the podcast listening audience right now is a little bit of a tastemaker audience, right? It's they can tell great from good, and good from average. And I guess, like, at that point in time, the brands are really interested in these in this tastemaker audience. And however small it is for now, but that's the challenge. I think at the end of it all, we would like to build a rather ad friendly model, which kind of keeps the network running, and at the same time actually just be able to kind of put the money out in the creator space, right? Because I think more creators will come to the medium, provided that there's money in this, right? So beyond the whole love and fresh air, and it's a great platform for personal brand building and all of that, I guess money is something that all of us are in it for. So I'm happy to kind of see what we managed to do in the last year. And we worked with big brands like Cred, Intuit. We've worked with brands like Intel, Lenovo. They've all understood what the ecosystem is, right? And what their expectation management or their expectation element around this is. So so far so good. And I think we've managed to deliver for some of the brands that have associated with us.
great. But Kavita, can you actually work with a brand and tell the story that you want to tell? I mean, at some stage, the brand would say that no.
I kind of understood what he was trying to ask me. I should probably.
The question was on force fitting the brand.
Yeah, he was just saying, is the story element going to change the minute the brand comes into the picture?
Yeah.
Hi, Ashwini.
Hi, this is where I come in. Hi,
Yes,
hi, Kavita.
yes, tell me.
Yeah, I understood his question as well. Please go ahead and answer.
So no, actually, I think we're hoping for brand language to change as well, right? I think brands are way more aware. We worked with Cred as a brand during the IPL, and you could see like the campaign that they put out across television networks at that time, where really actually they wanted to kind of appear and interact with mediums or houses, media houses in a certain way. They associated with Cyrus Says,
Right.
and very honestly, they actually were like, you know what, he needs to be brutal on any time that he mentions the brand and be in character, rather than him changing his style to kind of immediately do an ad plug, right? Which was encouraging because we were happy to kind of work and collaborate with a brand that understood the sound of what this is, right? I mean, it'd be terrible to associate with a comedian and tell him that, you know what, 5 out of your 10 jokes can't be said, because so that is actually cramping. So I guess you'll have to strike the balance. Money is important. So we do stuff that, will make a brand happy, but at the same time, we're keeping the listener, in what are they doing on the network for, right? Obviously to engage with a quality listener. And it's important that we deliver that for the listener as well. So it is a combination.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I think we have 5 minutes, and I have a question about languages, okay, specifically on audio streaming. And Kavita, you spoke about this, but I'd like everyone, Sandeep especially, to weigh in on this. Ramesh, you too. How well do we really know the language consumer in the universe of audio streaming? And I ask because, are we segmenting her right? Are we profiling this person right? The podcast consumer, there's this, it might be an elitist top-down way of looking at it, but the podcast consumer, at least in the early days, was this urban English speaker. And then, of course, we've got this whole language thing happening. Kavita, you spoke about it, and Sandeep, you said the hinterland is a big market for you. So, are we actually looking at two types of language users? Because in the world of audio streaming, because a lot of these people who are listening to local language content online and who come, they've entered the internet through video. So where does audio really fit in? That's the first part. And the second part, what about the bilingual listener? So for me, for example, I'm an English language user. That's how I get classified. But my mother tongue is Marathi. So I might also sample Marathi content on Khabri or on IVM or somewhere. So how are we segmenting this language user, and where are we at?
Ramesh, you want to take that?
Yeah. So as far as we're concerned, the audience will find us. We're creating content, and like we spoke, a lot of our content is targeted at that user, the language speaking user. Religious content, a lot of even the news content that we have a daily morning and evening news wrap, right? That goes to largely tier 2, tier 3 towns, where they never had access to this kind of content earlier, right? So the religious content that we have, Mahabharata, Ramayana, the metros have heard it before on radio.
Okay.
We repurposed it for tier 2, tier 3 audiences, and now they're lapping it up. Or the horror thing. So I don't think they are. In fact, they are much larger even today than the English-speaking audiences.
Okay.
And our listenership comes largely from the non-English speaking listener. I wish we had some classier programs which would also cater to the English thing. But yes, we're trying our best to get those in. But those are still niche programs, right? We don't have a Cyrus Says or that kind of a scale of English language programming. But Hindi works. Hindis work very well. Bengalis work for us. There is an Assamese podcast that's worked for us. There is a Tamil podcast that's worked for us. So I think that's where the market is. That's where the consumers already are.
Okay.
I don't think it requires more than creation of content to actually get those audiences.
That's interesting. So you're saying it actually might just be the other way around. We might have to work harder to pull in the English speakers. Sandeep, how do you react to this? Are there two types clearly, or is there just one type? And are we saying
I'll break it into two types. Podcast is something that we will talk in these forums, and we'll talk in metros, right? When you get into the hinterlands, it's audio, which was always there. Right? Don't talk to them about podcasts. They don't even care. Don't even know. They don't even care about it. Right. So it's all about audio. When you talk about audio, it's a much larger universe. It's huge out there. For us, for people to get Ramesh's content, because it's Hindustan Times, right? It's much easier to discover and reach out to his content. But people have discovered us. We are a complete, complete freshers in the space. But people have discovered us, and they have reached out to us, and the kind of consumption that we see on long form audio. I mean, people spending like 22 minutes on an average every session on our platform. That's kind of huge. They don't even do that on music platforms. So if you dish out the content in their language, don't call it podcast, call it audio. They'll take it.
Very interesting. So the nomenclature thing. Kavita, what do you think? Are we segmenting this audio streamer right when it comes to regional languages?
I think there's a demand and supply issue. English is a huge category, right? I mean, heck, it's one of the reasons why I think even when how we consume our video content, you're pretty much watching an international show on Netflix or some such, right? I'm talking specifically about the English listener here, but even from a language perspective, right? I think that there are so many conversations that need to be had across so many categories, and so I feel like there's high demand, and obviously there's a supply issue right now, because obviously audio in these kind of cities right now, or in these kind of places, was probably being streamed down through radio networks or community radio networks or all of that, right? But how are we going to top or up the notch over there? And I feel like, to be able to speak that language as a network ourselves, we'll have to do a lot of learning to kind of actually understand the micro niche segmentization that you will probably need, right? I mean, it's not just about a Kannada podcast. Heck, you can have an Udupi podcast, you can have a Tulu podcast, you can have so many. Now the thing is that, yeah, these are small audiences, but at the same time they're so underserved from a high quality content perspective. So the opportunity is there. How are we going to treat it? Well, we're going to try and understand this behavior a little more to be able to cater to them. Yes.
Right. Yeah, because what we gather from past panels like these about this local language user on the internet and the local language content consumer on the internet is that she's essentially a video person. So that's actually where the question came from. I see Anirban is back. We're anyway out of time, but over to you for closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Ashwini. I'm really sorry for the disruption. It was due to things that are beyond my control.
No problem.
But Ashwini, thank you again for filling in. I hope it was organically done. But talking about organic, Ramesh, there was a question: can advertiser organically fit into podcasts, or do you see actually the money coming in from subscriptions only? And can it go transactional? More of a.
I am a firm believer in the power of programmatic advertising as a savior for this category, and I will, as an organization and as a team of people doing audio, we will be working aggressively over the next year or so to get this programmatic piece going. I think somebody has to take the lead. It's easier for a publishing house like us to take a lead, and I think we'll be taking the lead on trying to get this programmatic, and that's the savior for the category itself. Is my view of this world. And if we can get that going in the next 1 year, I think we would have had a strong, regular, segmented, targeted source of income that, source of revenue and source of, consumer for advertisers as well over the next year or so. And it's working in the US, and there's no reason why if somebody took the lead in India, it wouldn't work in India as well. And that's really what we'll be working.
Correct. Sandeep, there was a question from Pravina Srivastav. She introduces herself as an independent podcaster. She says she works in socio-economic or socio-political podcasts, but she finds her podcasts have less takers compared to the entertainment podcasters who go all over the roof. So what should she do?
Not necessarily. I don't think that she's been to the right platforms. But I think but there's enough hunger for socioeconomic issues, those kind of content. As Kavita in one of her earlier deliveries, she said that people are looking for getting knowledge and at least understanding what is happening around them. In much easier way, right? So I think you would have gone to a wrong platform possibly. Come to Khabri. We'll make sure that you have enough listeners.
And television proved, like Discovery would never probably get as much viewed as a Z and more, but both channels existed for more than 20 years. Ramesh, there was a question from Shreyas Kulkarni. I want to become an RJ. Will that be moved to I want to become a podcaster?
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing called, RJing or pod. I mean, it's just, we're all content creators. I mean, you could be doing it for YouTube. You could be creating a video podcast. You could be doing a blog. You could be doing, RJ link on radio. you're a content creator, and that's the way we need to redefine our own job. Those job descriptions of the 90s have to change. And I think, sooner or later, we started recognizing YouTuber as a career now, right? If that's been recognized, parents don't hesitate now to allow their children to become, YouTubers. I'm sure podcaster or any of those things would all sort of come together, and it'll be one content creation kind of a, job description that will happen over a period of time.
Correct. And Kavita at the very beginning said that now Netflix shows are made out of podcasts. We have seen journeys of Chadu Sharma and Harsha Bogle. So they started with microphones and radio studios, and they've become brilliant commentators on television. We are at the very last stage of this conversation. I want to continue, but we've stopped. Ramesh, staying with you, what must happen for us to have a discussion in 2 years? And we'll discuss the success story of podcasts. What should happen for us to discuss it? Now we are seeing explains the rapid rise of podcasts. What about what explains the success, or what defines the success story of podcasts?
I think more than anything else, it'll be advertising and monetization. I think, like Kavita said earlier, Sandeep also alluded to it, which is that if you'll get better and better quality of podcasting or quality of audio content. I wouldn't even call it podcasting. If you have the sponsors behind it. And to me, that has to be driven by, programmatic audio advertising. And if, and then brands will automatically come, whether it's in sponsorship or branded podcasts or any of that stuff. But, if we can get all these things together, I don't think even organically we will fail, right? We'll definitely be doubling our listens every year or every couple of years. And that's the way the industry is going to go. So I don't think there's any looking back as far as audio is concerned. I don't think there's looking back as far as podcasting is concerned. I think it's about everybody joining the bandwagon, and it will happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, but
slower on getting onto the bandwagon. But as they become podcasters, their children become podcasters, they all get onto the bandwagon.
But do you have enough credible data to get advertisers to your platform? I mean, they keep talking about murky and fraudulent when they talk about digital even now.
I think the quality of data that's available is far better than the quality of data that's available on many other mediums. I don't want to mention the medium, but I'm sure, it may not be as good as digital, but it's close to digital in terms of the quality of data. I know the listens I have. I know the places where they come from. I know the minutes they're listening. If I'm telling you 6 million 1 minute listens, it is 1 minute listen 6 million, right? And there's no fudging around of this data, right? So I think the quality of data is already superior to what is in a lot of other mediums. And if advertisers have given money to those mediums over periods of time, it's just a matter of making sure that we convince advertisers that this is the kind of, that those evangelists, we need to do a better job as evangelists for the category. That's about it.
Correct. Fantastic. Kavita, what according to you should happen in the next 2 years for us to discuss a success story?
I think it's all about good content and monetization right now, right? I mean, IVM's been around for 6 years, and
Correct.
we've been, like I said, waiting in the wings to kind of be able to drive a certain kind of, content experience. At the same time, I feel like, the audience and the monetization element is kind of going to go hand in hand. We're going to have way more credibility the minute we kind of see a lot more engagement, right? One thing is for sure that, completion rates on the network right now are extremely high. Everyone who starts a show ends it. That's also one of the reasons why we distribute so majorly to YouTube, right? I mean, why should we ignore that medium? But also at the same time, they're the people who are completely flummoxed by our data on that platform, because they just like, here we thought that people were obviously coming in for short format stuff, get in, get out, snackable content, and here people are listening to 40 and 50 minutes of a show. So I guess the rise in audience and just generally listens, the listeners need to increase most definitely. And I think listeners across categories, I know the focus is on language, no doubt, but I feel like just it needs to become first nature.
Correct. When you say listeners need to grow, YouTube says 300 million, Hotstar says 350 million, MX Player says 275 million monthly active users. Put a number. What record? Number of listeners. I'm not saying video viewers.
No, I
Uh,
think you need to go like beyond like a few millions, right? And not just at where it's at right now.
Okay.
And the thing is that it's always going to be a qualitative medium,
Okay.
right? It's always going to be that. And I think that it's not about differentiating yourselves from others, it's just a different behavior. So
Mhm.
at the minute like audio becomes a little like first behavior,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, instead of reading that newspaper, you just probably listen to a news pod. And I know that, a lot of people around us are actually getting there. So there is going to be a huge change in the way you're going to engage with this, right? From a medium first perspective. And the minute you are type of top of the mind recall, I mean, brands are not going to wait, right? I mean, everybody also wants to be the first mover around an ecosystem that they want to play. So yes,
Correct.
there are brands who are like, wait, we'll wait till you kind of give us the numbers that we need. And at the
Mhm.
same time, some of them are just like, no, it's an environment that I think is quite exclusive. It's extremely relevant to the product that we want to be able to put out.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so micro niche is also is also working for brands. So I guess
Correct.
it's audience and brands both together. So I mean, monetization in and listens.
Correct. Sandeep, you've seen the streaming journey. What needs to happen in the podcast journey for it to become for us to discuss a success story in 2 years from now?
And we should have a Joe Rogan movement
Okay.
shortly, right? We should have a Joe Rogan movement, and we should, as an industry, cumulatively, we should look at 500 million consumers going forward in the next couple of years.
Mhm.
Very easy to get there. Very easy to get there, cumulatively put together. I'm not just talking about one platform,
Yeah.
right? 500 million consumers, one Joe Rogan movement, and one unicorn coming out of the audio space.
Great. Fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of promise that we fill this room with. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining here. Again, apologies for the disruption that we had to go through. Thank you, all the participants. And it was indeed a great discussion for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Anirban.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Anirban.
Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks, Ramesh.
Thanks, Ramesh. Thanks.
Thanks, Kavita. Thanks, Sandeep.